Hi there, welcome to GSD. Today it's AI. So, do you discriminate? Is it deliberate or accidental? Is it cultural or is it just personal? Would you want an AI with your own personal values? What about those of someone you're not so fond of? So, who gets to choose the core principles of any new artificial intelligence? Whether it is only a narrow AI that is sorting your photos or an overarching general AI that assumes governance of the globe and tries to save us from ourselves? Well, keep watching and let's have a think about this. So, it just happens that this is the subject being discussed over and over at every level of society. And more importantly for us, it was the subject of research by Mona Sloan and Emmanuel Moss at both City and New York universities. It was just published in the journal Nature Machine Intelligence. The authors outline a variety of reasons where social science approaches and its many qualitative methods can broadly enhance the value of AI whilst managing to avoid the classic and well-documented pitfalls. For instance, just this year it was reported how the dominant search engine currently in use has algorithms that seem to have a bias against both women and people of colour, with search results underrepresented in diversity and perpetuating stereotypes. And there is mounting evidence that AI can exacerbate inequality, perpetuate discrimination, and inflict harm. To achieve socially just technology, we need to include the broadest possible notion of social science, one that includes disciplines that have developed methods for grappling with the vastness of the social world. And that helps us understand how and why AI harms emerge as part of the large, complex and emergent technosocial system. Thank you, Mona. The researchers do acknowledge that AI engineers are currently seeking to instill value alignment, the idea that machines should act in accordance with human values in their creations, but add that it is exceptionally difficult to define and encode something as fluid and contextual as human values into a machine. Therefore, they suggest, artificial intelligence engineers should seek to enlist ideas and expertise from a broad range of social science disciplines, including those embracing qualitative methods, in order to reduce the potential harm of their creations and to better serve society as a whole. And in their conclusion, and to address these shortcomings, the authors offer a blueprint for the inclusion of social sciences in AI through a series of recommendations. Using qualitative social research can help understand the categories through which we make sense of social life and which are being used in AI. For example, technologists are not trained to understand how racial categories in machine learning are reproduced as a social construct as real-life effects on the organisation and stratification of society. But these questions are discussed in depth in the social sciences, which can help create the socio-historical backdrop against which the history of ascribing categories like race can be made explicit. Whilst developing a qualitative data collection approach can establish protocols to help diminish bias. Data always reflects the biases and interests of those doing the collecting. Qualitative research is explicit about the data collection, whereas quantitative research practices in AI are not. Additionally, a qualitative research typically requires researchers to reflect on how their interventions affect the world in which they make their observations. A quantitative approach does not require the researcher or AI designer to locate themselves in the social world. Therefore, it does not require an assessment of who is included into vital AI design decision and who is not. They conclude by noting that as we move onwards with weaving together social, cultural and technological elements of our lives, we must integrate different types of knowledge into technological development. A more socially just and democratic future for AI in society cannot merely be calculated or designed. It must be lived in, narrated, and drawn from deep understandings about society. So then, are you ready to think about the bigger picture? This is totally understandable as to why it arose as an issue. Most people have very narrow fields of interaction with the world, and so unless they understand that and actually work to counterbalance it, they will exhibit innate bias. And also, there is nothing wrong with this. We cannot all be everywhere at once, all seeing and all knowing. That requires a bit of an ego and a suspension of reasoned thought. And now we are aware of the issue. I'm sure all the global entities with the world at their fingertips are doing all they can do to promote a better way forward. But what if this bias were just part of future AIs? Who says anyone has to make their system decent and fair? That isn't a game plan most of the politicians around the globe seem to be that bothered by currently, is it? So what if, say, these biases were transferred to autonomous driving AIs? Could we even end up with a situation where a foreign visitor is worth less in its value system than a native resident of each country if they insist on tweaking the algorithms for their own benefits? Will AIs that monitor crime and allocate fire, police or ambulance resources at peak do so fairly based on the maximum number of lives that could be saved? Or would they maybe prioritise property and assets of high financial value? Can you see Europe, the USA, China, Russia and Saudi Arabia and all the rest agreeing to the same value system for their AIs? Will a bad comment on social media page about the political leadership in a country be autonomously transferred to a watch list? Or get you on a no entry list for that country? Or worse, stop you leaving after you've first entered? But let's not finish on doom and gloom, please. What about an AI toaster? You'll never have burnt toast again. What do you think? A future with no more burnt toast? Let me know down below and I will see you next time.